Okay, so today we're going to be talking about color harmony and the color wheel. So the first thing we're going to do is start out with the color wheel itself. We're going to have to make a 12 wedge color wheel. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line through the middle of a circle, kind of finding the center of that. From there I'm going to kind of divide it into about thirds on each side. So I can then go back through the center, and that just kind of helps divide things up. So now we've got 6. We then go through half of each, through the middle again to get 12. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to start to consider a 12 wedge color wheel. So what I'm going to do from here is number them. Hopefully things will stay kind of lined up. And the numbering just helps to know which wedge I'm talking about. So that's 12. We'll start by talking about the primary colors. Primary colors are colors that can't be mixed. So you can't be mixed. They have to be kind of found in nature. They're only found in nature. So there's 3 primary colors, and it doesn't really matter where you start on the color wheel. So that's usually something people struggle with. But the first primary color that we're going to talk about is red. So we're just going to write red here. Because there's 12 and there's 3, 12 wedges, 3 primary colors. That means 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So what we have to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where the next primary color will be. We'll just go with blue. It really doesn't matter. The third primary color is yellow. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we'll put yellow. So they just have to be evenly spaced. That means 3 empty spaces in between each. So a secondary color is a mixture of 2 primary colors. So if we mix red and blue together, we get violet, and that goes in the wedge in the center of those 2. So violet. If we mix red and yellow together, we get orange, so we'll put orange here. If we mix yellow and blue together, we get green. Tertiary colors. A tertiary is a mixture of a primary and an adjacent secondary. And we have to say adjacent because if we were to mix orange and blue together, orange being a secondary, blue being a primary, we'd actually get a brown, we wouldn't get a tertiary. So it's a primary mixed with one of the adjacent secondaries. So what we get here is we get red-violet, here we get blue-violet, here we get blue-green, here we get yellow-green, here we get yellow-orange, and here we get red-orange. So when you all paint your color wheel, this is the way it should be organized in this order. I don't care how you rotate the circle, but it is important that they transition in this fashion. So tints are when you add white to a color. Tones is when you add gray. And shades is when you add black. So what that means is that like pink would be a tint of red and maroon would be a shade of red. So then we can start talking about complementary colors and different types of color harmony. So the types that we're going to talk about are complementary, monochromatic, analogous, split complementary, triadic, quadratic, and then we'll define color harmony. So complementary colors are colors that are directly opposite of each other on the color wheel or directly across. So when we go directly across from orange, we get to blue. So orange and blue are complementary colors. So here we'll define this as just directly across from each other on the color wheel. And it's two colors, so we'll add that. So that means that yellow-green, its complement would be red-violet. Great. So we'll go through and give an example within each one using orange. So the complement of orange is blue, so we're going to circle those colors. Monochromatic is a single wedge of the color wheel along with its tints, tones, and shades. So the rectangles that we've been doing, like that blue one, that would be a monochromatic color scheme where we're just using white, black, and a single wedge. Analogous is 3 wedges in a row. So if you're using yellow, orange, orange, and red, orange, that would be an analogous color scheme. So if you were doing a painting of, say, a tree in the fall where all the leaves have started to change colors, that tree, if you were to use yellow, orange, orange, and red, orange for the leaves, that would be an analogous color scheme. Analogous is generally really good for textural objects. Split complementary. This is one that people have a tendency to struggle with. So if we're using orange, the split complement of orange would be orange, and then you go to its complement, which is blue. We're not going to use blue directly, but we're going to split blue and use the 2 wedges on the side of it. So orange along with blue-green and blue-violet. That would be a split complementary color scheme. So we're going to define that as a color used with the 2 colors adjacent to its complement. So what that means is just a color used with the 2 colors next to its complement. So again, orange used with blue-green and blue-violet. Triadic. Triadic, tri meaning 3. Triadic is 3 colors equally spaced along the color wheel. So that's pretty easy to think about. The first example that we did were the primary colors. The 3 primary colors are equally spaced throughout the color wheel. So red, yellow, and blue would be a triadic color scheme. It creates like an equilateral triangle on the color wheel, like Superman. If we were to do a triadic color scheme utilizing orange, it would just be the secondary colors. So orange, green, and violet are a triadic color scheme. Quadratic is pretty much the same thing, except instead of 3 as in tri, we're using 4 as in quad. So quadratic is 4 colors equally spaced along the color wheel. So that would be orange, red, violet, blue, and yellow, green. They would create a square along the color scheme, where quadratic has 2 blank spaces in between each one. So what you'll notice when we put all of these together, so complementary colors are orange and blue. That splits the color wheel in half, right? Monochromatic is a single wedge. Analogous is 3 in a row. Split complementary creates that kind of isosceles triangle. Triadic creates that equilateral triangle, and quadratic creates that square. What you'll notice with all of these is that it divides the color wheel in half. It's creating symmetry on the color wheel. So I define color harmony as balance on the color wheel. So that's what you're always looking to do within your painting, is to create balance on the color wheel. So something else that the book talks about is it talks about warm and cool colors. So between yellow and yellow-green, which is here, and violet and red-violet, which is here, this is what divides the color wheel into warm colors and cool colors. These have what they call kind of a push and pull effect, which is to create an illusion of depth or illusion of space. The cool colors have a tendency to recede into the background, while the warmer colors have a tendency to come closer to us, or seem closer to us. It's kind of like when light hits something, it creates a highlight, which is generally thought of to be like a yellowish or whitish color. And because of that light and highlight, things have a tendency to seem closer to us. The cooler colors start to appear like shadows, so they have a tendency to look further away. I went through all of this very quickly. If you need to watch this more than once, do so. If you have any questions about any of the information, feel free to email me. Thank you.